Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have found our way through the deep waters of award season, only to return to you with more award-winning fare. We're a little late, but we're happy it's here, and guess what? We're happy you're here too. Because if you're listening, uh, we got to welcome you to our podcast. It's in the seats with all your one-stop shop for all sorts of goodness from the world of film, television, the moving image at large, and so very much more. And we thank you for liking the sound of my voice because, I like the sound of my voice. It doesn't mean much, but still, we appreciate it all the same. And if you do appreciate it, keep appreciating us. Find us and subscribe. Find us on all your favorite podcast providers like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So please give us a like and subscribe there as well. Also, don't hesitate to find us on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, or X as it were, Blue Sky, Instagram. I'm sure there's others. There's so many. I lose track. But we're at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats. InTheSeats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when we come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. Ladies and gentlemen, on this episode, it's been rolling out in theaters all across the country. It had a one-off here tonight in Toronto, and I'm sure it's going to be playing more screens on and on before it comes to video-on-demand platforms. It's the absolutely stunning and fantastic Measures for a Funeral from writer-director Sofia Bohdanowicz. And it's the story of a young academic who pursues acclaimed early 20th century violinist Kathleen Parlow while escaping her failed musician's mother's shadow. It's really a fascinating character piece of sort of the obsessions we have when it comes to finding art and understanding our art. And it's stunning to watch, really, because I don't know anything about classical music, but it really ropes us in, and what Sophia does here with the film is brimming with real self-assured style and art that has to be witnessed on the screen. And we had the unique pleasure of talking with Sofia Bohdanowicz about the film and so very much more. I apologize for my dog in the background making noise, but such is the life when you're podcasting from home. But like I said, when you get a chance, get out to the theater. Look up your local listings for Measures for a Funeral. Like I said, it only had one screening here in Toronto, but I'm pretty sure there's bound to be more, no matter where you are. So please check it out. But first, check out our conversation with Sophia, because it's a darn good one. Sophia, just to kick it off, thank you so much for the time. And I got to catch the movie last night, finally. I was really drawn by it. I loved it. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so pleased that you dug it.
Now, I guess my first question is, because obviously this isn't the first time you've developed something with Deragh. Walk me through sort of that process of, I guess, finding this character and wanting to tell this story.
Mm. Yeah, so Dara and I have been working together for a decade. She's immensely talented, very committed. She's just a very curious person. She's very well read. She's a cinephile, and all of those things I think inform that character, Audrey Benak, that we co-created together. And Audrey is the name of my cousin, Audrey. And this character is kind of based on things that I've experienced, things that Dara has experienced as well. And it's kind of an amalgamation of I guess, things that I've been studying or that I'm curious about, but also her reaction to those things as well. And in the creation of the Audrey series, it was all about writing a different kind of a historical injustice or familial injustice right. And in every film, I guess Audrey has a little quest that she doesn't really quite complete. But it's not always about, I guess, the end result, but about the beauty of the gesture or the beauty of the thought or the beauty, I guess, of the odyssey that she wants to embark on. And in this film, in this final film in the Audrey Bohdanowicz series, it's all about, I guess, the self-actualization of voice and also about the accomplishment of this very, very important task.
Well, and I mean, I love that because, I mean, again, this is one of those things where, even referencing back to the other films a little bit, I was so struck by, I guess, the audio design or the sound design, as it were, because again, this is one of those things where you don't often see sound design as like a character or as a sort of a device to move the story. Like, can you talk a little
Mhm.
bit about how you wanted that to play out? Because again, I was in love with sort of her on the headphones and hearing the muffled sounds, but then also the narration. It all really made for something quite beautiful.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, and it's a high compliment to our sound editor, Stefana Fertilla, and our sound mixer, Lucas Perkasiak, pardon me, who are both absolutely incredible and very dedicated in working on this film because it was a really, really hard film to sound mix and design. And for us, this film is a little bit more than a film. It's a little bit of a seance or an experiment to bring Kathleen Parlow's voice back to life. And what I find to be really fascinating is that they always say that like the spirit comes back through sound. And
Yeah.
just to give you an example of how deep our experiments went, and it was Stefana's idea, we went to Kathleen Parlow's grave. With an electromagnetic microphone to record the sound waves that were passing through her grave. And she's buried in a mass grave in Toronto with 250 other people because they couldn't afford an actual plot for her. And so anytime that you hear static in the film, that's actually a recording that comes from her grave.
Wow.
And in combination with the wax cylinders that we found, with the opus, with the interview that we recovered from the CBC, all of these things, or I guess the idea of it, is really an amalgamation to bring her spirit back through sound. And I think that Stefana and Lucas, considering everything that they had, did a magnificent job. And that's also the reason why it works is also due to Ian Reynolds, who's an incredible sound recordist who works on, I think, just about every independent Toronto production. So we had a very, very, very dedicated sound team, and that's the reason why the film feels the way it does.
Well, and I mean, it's one of those things because people would think sound is something that comes up in post. But this is really something I imagine you had to kind of develop on the fly. Like from a script standpoint, did that create any kind of challenges in terms of sort of developing the narrative and getting things moving along? Because I mean, I can imagine you're not going to know until you sort of go and find the wax cylinder or go take the recordings that if it's going to work or not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And I think for me, I mean, it was amazing because I did my master's at York University where I worked with Brenda Longfellow, who's an incredible filmmaker, and Phil Hoffman as well. And they both taught me a way of making films called process cinema. So the idea is that if you show up in a location and something isn't working, you don't look at it as a disaster. You just kind of like work it into the film. So, for example, if we had showed up to the library and the phonograph that we were borrowing from this incredible man who lent it to us wasn't working, maybe the scene wouldn't be about listening to the cylinder, but it would be about the fact that we couldn't get it working and Audrey can't have access to this thing. And it's a little bit of a tragedy. So, what I've learned as a filmmaker, and I've learned this through Phil and Brenda, is to really like work with the variables that you have when you arrive. And instead of looking at it like a big deal or a big thing that you have to surmount, you can kind of use it to turn it into something very human and say, how can I add this to my film and how can I make it better?
For sure, for sure. And I mean, it's one of those things where I can imagine for you as a filmmaker, it creates a need to sort of embrace your creativity and sort of embrace sort of ideas that maybe on paper don't necessarily look like they're going to work, or you just have to try it and then see what happens, kind of thing. Because that leads me, I want to ask about something, and it's not really
Hmm.
so much of a spoiler, but I was so struck by your willingness to stay on a shot, particularly at the end of the film,
Hmm.
and then be able to sort of have the frame not move. And from
Hmm.
a filmmaking standpoint, especially this day and age, it feels like people are in love with cuts and movement.
Hmm.
Whereas here, I appreciated the stillness.
Cool. No, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Well, it's very easy to say stay still in a shot when you're working with a cinematographer like Nikolai Mikhailov. You know, the way that he framed, I think, Dara and the rest of the cast in the film was incredible. But also we had an amazing colorist, Mathieu Moreno. But all of this, of course, starts with the editing too, you know, because it's really, really up to the editor how long you're going to linger or stay within a certain moment. And I was very, very, very lucky to be working with an incredible experimental filmmaker named Pablo Alvarez Mesa. I don't know if you've seen his work before.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Most
yeah.
recently, he made a film called The Soldier's Lagoon. And I was really keen to work with him because of this experimental background that he has in film, but also his relationship to sound is very, very, very special. And I knew that he would protect, I guess, the experimental and more metaphysical elements of the film that I was trying to make. And he really did. He's a very patient filmmaker. And he really understood the spirit of the experiment. So the reason why the film is so patient is because I really learned from him how to be still and how to let things unfold. Because I think that in order for the performance of the concerto to feel like the eruption that it does feel like in the end, we really do need to feel very still inside for us to really like feel, I guess, that huge swell that happens at the end. So I think that when you're editing a film as well, it's all about like listening to the film and asking it what it wants to be. You know, you don't tell it. I think that the best films are the ones when the filmmaker is really listening to the footage and letting it shine. And I think Pablo was the perfect person to, I guess, guide all of these beautiful images that Nikolai created.
I mean, I imagine a lot of that has to go, especially to sort of the length of your collaboration with Deragh as well, because it's not a question of you directing her; it's a question of you letting her react to the material
Yeah.
and sort of evolve from there.
Yeah, totally. And I think the scene that happens in Kathleen Parlow's home where she's like pulling all of those like plastic
Right, right.
tarps and playing with them, that happened. That's an example of process cinema. So we were supposed to have a fog machine in that scene, and she was supposed to be walking through that room through the fog. But we kept on setting off the fire alarm in the old folks' home next door. So we had to find an alternative. And it was our incredible production designer, Jess Hart, who works with Matthew Rankin, actually. She worked on the 20th century. Within 2 hours, she had covered the room in plastic tarps, which was incredible. And she created this entire obstacle course for Audrey to move through and for Dara to play with, which was an incredible thing to watch and to see come together. And then on top of that, we had an amazing Steadicam operator, Benoit Gauthier, who developed a very close relationship with Dara in terms of her movement, in terms of her body language, and was really able to follow in closely with her. So it was those kinds of collaborations where everyone was just game and on board and could just really let Dara be free and let her be herself and let her engage with the material that gave us scenes, I think, that really shone in the edit. And that was certainly one of my favorite scenes to watch come together as
Well,
well.
and there's such
Stressful in the
emotional
moment.
chaos in that scene too. I mean, to have it to come together like that in a couple of hours has got to be one of the more rewarding experiences just as a filmmaker to be able to sort of put something like that together on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what you learn from just kind of like surrendering to the circumstance
Right.
and saying to yourself, like, the world doesn't have to get me. How can I work with this? I believe that it's going to work. And it's also, you know, due to the incredible crew that we had. They were just down to do it. And they really cared about Kathleen's story. They all read the script. They were all very dedicated to the Odyssey. And it's because of them that the film has the life that it does.
Well, and I mean, just to start putting a bow on this, because it's one of those things in watching this film, and I mean, I love that you bring up Matthew as well because these to me are really great examples of being able to tell Canadian stories, but maybe not in the way that audiences expect them to be told, if that's the
Mm.
right way to put it. I mean,
Mhm.
how have you found sort of the development of what it means to make Canadian cinema, especially over the past few years?
How do I feel about, I guess,
Like, how
the
has it changed? How has it evolved?
Oh, I mean, that's a really great question. I mean, there are a lot of incredible filmmakers making really, really beautiful work. Matthew Rankin's Universal Language is like a really beautiful, perfect example. And then you have Miriam Charles, who's actually shooting and coming up with like a new film right now, as well as Kazik Erdwanski and Antoine Bourge, who's going to be coming up with something soon. But also recently we had Ashley Mackenzie, who made Queens of the Qing Dynasty.
Oh my
And
God,
it's
yeah.
really interesting because I think it's a tough thing for all of the critics to talk about, I guess, the canon of this work and how it's coming together. Because I think the most incredible thing in Canadian film is that the vision and the voices are very singular. I think here we are trusted to really go with our guts and to come up with work that really belongs to us, but is original and unique and that comes in our voice. So I think that that's been the most beautiful thing in terms of watching Canadian cinema develop and watching these films come out, is that they're very unique and original in terms of their cadence, in terms of their rhythm, but also in terms of their identities as well.
No, I mean, you're right. There's an auteurship to it that, on the outside looking in, for people who don't know, could be almost mistaken as European. But at the same
Hmm.
time, like when you're in it and when you're Canadian, it's like, no, this is Canadian. This is Canadian
Hmm.
filmmaking, and this is how we tell stories. And it's made for such an interesting evolution. And I mean, just again, I'm curious for you because obviously, this film has been a little while in the making. It played the festival run, now it's getting a regular release. How do you, as a filmmaker and a storyteller, I would imagine, sort of let it go? And I mean, by that, I mean, obviously, you're going to have a certain emotional connection to characters, a certain emotional connection to projects. But at some point, it's in the can, it's out there in the universe. You have to just sort of go, let your baby
Hmm.
sort of figure out its way to walk on its own. How do you, as a creator, kind of do that?
No one's ever asked me that before. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's tough. I'm at the end of the film festival tour.
Yeah.
So the last film festival that I went to was the Cambridge Film Festival, and it was actually very moving because all of the people in Meldrith who worked on the film came and surprised me, which was
Wow.
very, very touching. And to have partaken on this kind of journey where I got to collaborate with so many incredible individuals, especially, like someone like Maria Dueñas as well. I mean, what a talent. What an incredible person to have touch our film and to be a part of Audrey Bennett's world. It is a very hard thing to say goodbye to this universe because I'm really proud of the work that we accomplished, but also it's been such a beautiful thing to see this film come together. But the best way to let it go is just to kind of line up another project and to find another point of fascination. And right now, I'm studying in Madrid. I got a residency at the Academy of Motion Pictures
Oh,
there, so I'm
wow.
at the Goya Foundation.
Congratulations.
And I'm doing a project on Goya's La Tirana. So I'm working on another film about a woman who has become invisible throughout the course of history. And she was an actress from the 18th century that Goya painted twice. So right now I'm working on uncovering her history there. And again, it's a very rich universe, but also it's very sad to say goodbye to this one.
For sure, but I mean, you've got me very excited. I love Goya. I mean, I think that's going to be super interesting. But Sophia, obviously, just thank you for the work. Keep it up. You're doing the good work. Yet another shining example of really gorgeous Canadian cinema. I'm so happy we had the chance to talk today. And just again, thank you for the work and thank you for the time.
Thank you, David. It was such a thoughtful interview, and thank you for going through the film so thoroughly. It was a really, really nice chat and very original questions.
Well, thank you very
Got
much.
me thinking about a lot of stuff I haven't thought about for a long
Excellent. I
time.
like that. I like that. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. See
All
you
right.
later.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu ray rental,
or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.